welcome back. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Week 2 application questions. So let's get started here. An IV flow rate is set at 5.2 milliliters per minute. What is the flow rate in liters per hour? Round to the nearest thousandth. Okay, so let's get started with what we know. We have 5.2 milliliters per 1 minute. And our goal here is we want to get to liters per hour. So we're going to start with some things that we can use to convert that are going to be known measurements. So what I do know is I can multiply by 1,000 milliliters are going to be in 1 liter. When I multiply here by something that has the same units on the top and the bottom, that actually cancels out these units. So I'm one step closer to getting to liters per hour because I already have liters on the top. Now, the question remains, how do I get to liters per hour? Because as it stands, I'm at liters per minute. Well, I know that there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. Same thing happens here. When I multiply by a specific unit on the top and the bottom, they actually cancel out. Now I have liters over hours. So the only thing that remains is I need to multiply the numbers. So I have 5.2 times 1 times 60 on the top. So 5.2 times 60 over, now we just multiply the bottom. 1 times 1,000 times 1 is going to be 1,000. And we can't forget our units, liters per hour. Perfect. Okay. So 5.2 times 60 is going to give me 312. I'm going to move down here so we have just a little bit more room. 312 over 1,000. Great. And so an easy way to divide this is just to move the decimal 3 times. So if I have 312, the decimal's right here, I can go 1, 2, 3. 0.312 liters per hour. Okay, and the question is asking us to round to the nearest thousandth. Right here is going to be the thousandth place. And there's no numbers after that, so we're good. 0.312 liters per hour. A medication label states the patient dosage is 32,450 micrograms per day. The medication is stated in milligrams. How many milligrams should the patient receive? Round to the nearest milligram. Great. So once again, let's start with the information we already have. 32,450 micrograms. Okay. So the question is, how many micrograms are in 1 milligram? Well, we know that a microgram is smaller than a milligram. So there are 10 to the 6th, 10 to the 3rd micrograms in 1 milligram. So same thing as in the last question. These units will cancel out, and all we'll need to do is multiply. So I have 32,450 on top times 1. It's going to give me 32,450 top. And this is the only unit that remains, so it is going to be in milligrams. Divided by, and this is the only thing that's left on the bottom, 10 to the third. Great. Okay, so now let's divide. So 10 to the third is just 1,000. And just like we did in the last video, when we divide, we can simply move our decimal. So I've got 32,450. And the decimal's right here. So I'm going to move it 3 times to right there. And that gives us 32.450 milligrams. And the question is asking us to round to the nearest milligram. So this number right here is going to be the one in question because it's going to be a whole milligram. And like in the other problems, we look to the right. And we see that this number is smaller than 5. So it's going to round down. So all of these will become zeros. But since it's asking us to round to the nearest milligram, we don't have to write them. So our answer becomes 32 milligrams. Okay, a medication is dosed at 12 milligrams per kilogram. How many milligrams should a 90 kilogram patient receive? Round to the nearest milligram. All right, so for this question, we're going to set up what's called a proportion. And all that is simply 2 fractions that are set equal to each other to solve for a missing piece. So let's set up the first fraction. I'm going to start with 12 milligrams on top because that is what the question gives us per 1 kilogram. Okay, and now we can look at the question and ask, what is the other piece of information that they give us? Well, we do know that there's a 90 kilogram patient. So we want to make sure our units line up. So if there's kilograms on the bottom and I have 90 kilogram patient here, I want to put that on the bottom just so I can set them equal to each other. And they're asking how many milligrams should this patient receive. So this is what we're going to solve for. And it will be in milligrams because our units will match on top. So all that I need to do is cross multiply. So I take 90 times 12, and that's going to give me 1,080. And then I can cross multiply again. 1 times x is going to give me just x. I don't need to write the 1. Okay, so most importantly, I cannot leave off my units. So 1,080 what? Well, let's look at, remember how I said that our units need to match up? So as they do in the bottom, they should on top as well. So I should have 1,080 milligrams. And the question asks us to round to the nearest milligram. Since I don't have a decimal here, it's already rounded. That's pretty nice. So 1080 milligrams. Whenever I do proportions, it always feels like a puzzle. Just look for the missing piece. All right, next question. A medication comes in 100 milliliter bags containing 10,128 milligrams of medication. If a patient requires 354 milligrams, how many milliliters should be administered? Round to the nearest tenth of a milligram. All right. So for this question, let's go ahead and set up another proportion. So what do I know? Well, I know that 100 milliliter bags contain 10,128 milligrams of medication. All right. Well, and what's the other piece of information that I have? Well, I know that a patient is going to require 354 milligrams of medication. So just like the previous problem, we're going to match up the units. So if there's milligrams on bottom, milligrams are going to go on the bottom again. And then I'm looking for how many milliliters they should be given. All right. Just like in the previous problem, we're going to cross multiply. So I've got 354 times 100. I can add 2 zeros, and it's going to be 354 100. Cross multiply again, 10,128 times x. It's going to give me 10,128x. Perfect. Okay, now let's do some algebra and solve for x. So I want to get that x by itself, so the first way I can do that is divide each side by 10,128. And it's important to remember that whatever we do to one side, we want to do to the other side as well. And when I divide, that leaves me with just x on this side. And when I divide on the other side, we get kind of a long decimal here, but that's okay. I'm going to write the first couple digits after the decimal point. 495. Okay. If you type that in your calculator, you're going to notice that you get a very long decimal, but I'm just going to write the first couple just for time's sake here. But the question is asking us to round to the nearest tenth. So we're going to look at this digit right here, since this is the tenths place. And then we take a look to the right, and we see that this number here is larger than 5. So we're going to round up. So that means we're going to have x equals 3 point, this gets rounded up, 5 milliliters. Good job. As we move through rounding, you guys will get more comfortable with the rounding rules. Just practice makes perfect. All right. According to Soccer Buzz, 15% of a subpopulation like to play soccer. In a group of 352 of the subpopulation, how many like to play soccer? Okay. We're going to use the same strategy here. We're going to go ahead and set up a proportion. Okay, so what do I have? I have 15% of a subpopulation. Now, percentages mean part of a whole. So if 15% is the part of the subpopulation, 15% percentages are always going to be taken out of 100. So I can put the part over the whole, and the whole is the 100%. Awesome. So just like in the other ones, it has to be set equal to another fraction. So what else do I know? Well, I know that there are 352 people in the subpopulation, and we want to find out how many like to play soccer. So the 352 can go on the bottom, and we want to find out what percentage of that 352 likes to play soccer. How many people? All right, so now that we have our proportion, we can go ahead and set up to solve. 352 times 15 is going to give me 5,280. All right, we're going to cross multiply again. 100 times x gives me 100x. All right, and now we're going to solve for x. So I need to get this x by itself. So to do that, I can divide both sides by 100. That will give me x by itself. And when I divide by 100, I can just move my decimal. So I'm going to move it 2 places. So since it's normally going to be right here, I can move it 1, 2. And we get that x is equal to 52.8. All right. So now I have 52.8, but 52.8 what? Because this whole time we've been really emphasizing that it's important to get to the right units. Well, the question is asking for how many people like to play soccer. So since we can't have 0.8 of a person, we're going to go ahead and round up because 8 is bigger than 5 according to our rounding rules. So since this is bigger than 5, that will make this number right here go up. So our rounded answer will be 53 people. Okay. And like I said, it's always helpful to go back and look at the problem and make sure our units make sense and our answer makes sense. Okay, awesome. Great job here, guys. I hope this helps.